The Red Sox finally won a game. Is this what's going to turn things around for them?
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate, and currently the host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And you want to know the best part? It's free. So make sure that you tune in because Locked On is here for you every single day. Happy Wednesday, and it is indeed a happy Wednesday because the Red Sox won a game last night, defeating the Brewers in a tight 3-2 game. But it doesn't matter if the score is 14-2 or 3-2. A win is a win, and the Red Sox pulled it out last night, and there were a lot of good things I saw from this win. So going to be breaking down that win, as well as talking about the main offseason additions that the Red Sox brought in and how those guys are doing so far this season, plus some key injury updates. So the Red Sox finally won a game, and starting the season 2-8 is very much not ideal, and continuing to dig yourself a hole is especially not ideal. So the Red Sox were able to change the tone a little bit and win the game last night. Now, granted, they still had their blunders. There was a weird infield situation where there was a ground ball hit to Trevor Story, and instead of just taking it to second base himself, he tried to flip it to Marcelo Meyer, who was simultaneously trying to get out of the way because he thought Trevor was going to be taking it himself. So there was a little miscommunication there, and it was just typical Red Sox defense, just not being cohesive and not being able to make the right plays. But overall, the Red Sox needed a dominant performance from Garrett Crochet, and that was exactly what he displayed in this game. 6 1/3 innings, giving up 5 hits, 2 earned runs with 2 walks and 7 strikeouts. He threw 107 pitches with 65 of them going for strikes and now has a 3.12 ERA on the season. Now, the most notable thing about all of that was that he provided length. After the 6th inning, he was at 95 pitches, and there was a question about whether he was going to go back out there for the 7th inning or not, and Alex Cora sent him back out, and things started to get a little bit rough. He started to lose his command. He hit a batter, and it just kind of started to fall apart for him a little bit in that inning. And I get the logic behind keeping him in that game at that time. He is your ace. He's the best pitcher you have on this team. And with a team that just hasn't been winning games and really needed to win this game, you need to trust your ace in that moment, especially due to the fact that the other starting pitchers haven't exactly been providing that length. We've had guys who have been averaging, 4, maybe 5 innings. And that's just going to fatigue the bullpen too early on in the season since it's only the beginning of April. So when your ace is on the mound, you need to trust him to go deeper into games. So I understand the logic behind bringing him back in, even though he was at 95 pitches. And even though he wasn't able to finish that inning, he still put the boys on his back and grinded and got the win today against a pitcher who's really dominant for the Milwaukee Brewers in Jacob Misiorowski. Now, there were a lot of things about Garrett Crochet's performance that were good. Was it perfect? Definitely not. Was he getting hit a little bit? Were guys getting on base? For sure. But he never ran into too much serious trouble to where he can't get out of it. And what makes a really good pitcher is a guy who's able to deliver the right pitches at the right down and shut down guys. And that's exactly what Crochet did in this outing. He delivered the pitches when he needed to, and he was able to get these guys out. And from the perspective of everybody watching the game, you go into a game like that thinking, okay, we have Garrett Crochet, we should be okay. But the Red Sox lost the last time Garrett Crochet pitched because he didn't exactly have his best stuff. So when you look at a game like last night, it's really satisfying to think about the fact that Garrett Crochet pitched as well as he did. He went quite literally into beast mode in this game. And that's exactly what he did. They needed that type of performance from him, and he buckled down and he did it. He showcased all of his pitches very well in this game. He said, for me going into today, the goal was shut down innings. Still failed at that today, but Zach Kelly did a hell of a job just maintaining the lead. Even though not every inning was shut down, like I said, he definitely got the job done. He limited the Brewers to just 5 hits, like I said, and those 2 runs. And then he did walk 2 and struck out 7. And you see Garrett Crochet, if you're the opposing team, on the mound, and you're worried. And that's exactly how the Brewers felt. Right fielder Sal Frelick actually said you don't want to come in and say it's going to be a pitcher's duel because you want to go get that guy, but you know he's going to throw 110 pitches and he's a competitor. It's always a fun matchup to go against guys like that. We kind of knew we were going to be in a dogfight today. And the Red Sox are just desperately in need of wins. So that puts more pressure than normal on the starting pitcher to go out there and get the job done. But that pressure didn't get to Crochet at all. He said, I'm kind of always looking for a little bit of an edge wherever you can get it. I think that definitely felt like we needed to stop the bleeding. So he made things feel right again for the Red Sox, and he put his team within a win of their first series victory of the season. And guys definitely were backing him in terms of being able to deliver on their end. Now, Jacob Misiorowski is a really strong pitcher, so I didn't expect the Red Sox offense to necessarily score a bunch of runs on him. He pitched 5 1/3 innings, giving up 2 hits, 3 earned runs, 4 walks, but he had 10 strikeouts. He threw 101 pitches with 56 of those going for strikes, and that was a 3.31 ERA on the season. So this truly was a true pitcher's duel. 2 pitchers who are both very good at limiting runs. And the first 5 batters that Misiorowski faced struck out, and I thought, wow, this could be a really long night for the offense. And the 6th batter to come up, Marcelo Meyer, grounded out, and I was happy about it because I was like, wow, somebody actually made contact. It wasn't a strikeout. Wow, this is awesome. So I was like, this could end up being a really long night, but the Red Sox did deliver later on. They took advantage when Misiorowski started to lose a little bit of a sense of his command. They took their walks and they were able to capitalize on that. And Trevor Story actually came up big with a big hit in this game. He went 1 for 4 and drove in 2 runs. He did have 1 strikeout too, but he desperately needed this hit because Trevor has really struggled to start the season. And he's now been moved back in the batting order, which is something that I think is very smart and is going to be very beneficial for this Red Sox team. He's now hitting in the 5 hole, whereas before he was hitting in the 2 spot. And when you take a little bit of that pressure off of the hitter, sometimes that makes a difference. And that's exactly what happened here with Trevor Story, was that they moved him down in the order, and now he's starting to hit a little bit more, and he crushed a big hit ball that went right down the left field line and ended up driving in a couple runs in a very big spot for the Boston Red Sox, and it ended up being the difference maker in this game. So even though the Red Sox weren't doing a whole lot of hitting against Misiorowski, they had a total of 3 hits in this game. The hits were timely, and that's one of the biggest things that I've been preaching so far this season is the Red Sox, even if they're stringing together some hits, they're just not getting those hits at the right time. But that was exactly what happened in this game, and it felt like a lot of things came together because not only did Garrett Crochet have a strong outing, but the bullpen held it together after him. So he got pulled in the 7th inning, and then Zach Kelly came in and finished that inning with zeros across the board, throwing just 11 pitches with 7 of them going for strikes. So he looked good. And then Garrett Whitlock came in and pitched the 8th inning. He struggled his last time out, but he came in and certainly redeemed himself in this game, had 1 strikeout and just put up a bunch of zeros. And then they went to their closer, Aroldis Chapman, who threw an inning as well. Did give up 1 walk, but other than that, no problem. 6-pitch 9th inning for him with 2 strikes. He has a 1.80 earned run average on the season now, as does Garrett Whitlock. So the way that this game was managed by Alex Cora really showed that this felt like a must-win game. They included all their high leverage arms. both with Crochet and also guys coming out of the bullpen. They put their best pitchers out there. I mean, Zach Kelly may not necessarily fall into that category as much per se as a high leverage guy, but he's a guy who was able to get the job done in this game last night. And the fact that they stretched out Crochet as much as they did, Alex Cora really laid it all on the line, and the Red Sox were able to put it together in a close victory. And this was the type of game that it felt like they would have blown as of last week. So this is a step in the right direction. You don't want to ever overreact to one game. It's still so early, but this was a good win for this team and hopefully a good way for them to feel good about themselves and get back on track, because now if they win again today, then they're looking at a record of 4-8, which still isn't great, but it's a lot better feeling than when they were 2-8. So this was a good team win overall. The bats weren't exploding, but they got the job done when they needed to, and the pitching staff held it together. They do need to still be a little bit cleaner defensively overall, but we saw some things come together here in this game that we haven't necessarily always seen. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully things continue to move in the right direction. But coming up, how are the biggest Red Sox offseason additions doing to start the season?
Hey, this is Jeff Carr from Locked On Reds, and when it comes to our futures, we all have great ideas when it comes to our job, when it comes to our house, when it comes to our vehicles, all that great stuff. But honestly, when it comes to securing that future, I don't know what I don't know. And when me and my wife sat down to figure out the life insurance thing, Ethos made everything simple. Everything's online, you have a quick and easy application process, and you find out exactly what you need for coverage all in one spot. Ethos makes everything so convenient when it comes to learning about your own life insurance, because insurance is something that is far beyond batting average or on-base percentage. It's way out in left field for me. Ethos made it all easy. Take just 10 minutes and get covered today with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/lockedonmlb. That's ethos.com/lockedonmlb. Application times may vary and rates may vary.
Baseball is finally back, and to celebrate, I'm giving you a full month of the Everydayer Club for free. Go to lockedonredsox.supercast.com and use code FINALLY. You'll unlock every episode ad-free and get access to a private listener group chat with everybody from this show that listens, and you can all crash out about games together. Tap the link in the show notes and use code FINALLY to claim your free month. The Everydayer Club is great because you get lots of perks like all access content that you won't get anywhere else if you want to upgrade to the all access tier. So make sure you check that out today and take advantage of the free month. Well, we finally saw Red Sox win. How good does that feel? I mean, this was a team that was just not able to win games, and they were just finding new ways to lose games every day, whether that was defensive miscues, the pitching not able to hold leads, or the offense just not hitting. There was always just something every night. And it was frustrating because this feels like a team that's better than what they've been showcasing so far this season. And I've been waiting for this version of the team to come out where things are just clicking. And I wouldn't necessarily say everything has clicked still. There are still guys continuing to struggle, but this is a team that hopefully continues to take steps forward, and hopefully winning last night is that first step towards them moving in the right direction. But some of the guys that we're hoping continue to help this team move in the right direction are the biggest offseason additions that the Red Sox added to this team that they hope are going to be huge contributors. Sonny Gray, a starting pitcher that the Red Sox brought in hopes that he would be a key asset to the rotation. He really struggled his first start of the season against the Cincinnati Reds, but then when the Red Sox came back to Fenway and he was pitching there in the Red Sox home opener, he looked significantly better than he did his first time out. And I'm curious to see if that trend continues for Sonny or if he's going to have an up and down season. His third start of the season is going to be big for him. He is scheduled to pitch today. And if he pitches well in that game, then we can feel more excited and confident moving forward about him. But the problem I had with Sonny Gray going into the season was that he is getting older and I worried about the inconsistencies maybe playing a role for him this year. So he had one bad start to start the season and then another good start after that. So it's really hard to know what version of him is coming moving forward. So this upcoming start for him today is a good opportunity for him to really implement the confidence of the fan base in him. And the Red Sox are really banking on him being a solid starting pitcher for this team. So we'll see how things go for him. But Ranger Suarez, one of their biggest offseason pickups too, a guy they brought in via free agency, he has struggled. And this one's kind of a tough look for Boston because this is a team that kind of panicked after they missed out on Alex Bregman. It's clear that the Red Sox assumed that Alex Bregman was going to come back. It just was what it was. They assumed that they were going to have him for the 2026 season, and then he chose to sign with the Cubs, and the Red Sox were like, well, what do we do now? We have this money that we were going to give to Alex Bregman, so now we need to try to allocate it elsewhere, and they almost panic signed Ranger Suarez and pivoted because they were like, all right, well, we're not going to spend that money on the offense now, so we might as well bring in a pitcher who we feel is going to contribute to our staff. So they used that money on Ranger Suarez, 5-year deal for him, $130 million, and so far, he hasn't exactly lived up to the hype that people were giving him before the season started. And the hype was reasonable because he pitched well in Philly. His postseason numbers are incredibly dominant. And this is a guy that the Red Sox are hoping is going to pan out for them. But the problem is it's hard to feel that kind of confidence in him right now because he has struggled early on. His velocity has never been great. He's never really been known to be a high velocity pitcher, which is something that could hurt him over the course of this contract. But he makes up for the lack of velocity with his stuff and his ability to be able to generate swings and misses through the locations of his off-speed pitches. And the problem was he kept missing his locations on those pitches, and that's something that led to him struggling early on. So he's had some rough starts so far for this Boston Red Sox team, and I'm really hoping that that turns around because that was one of the biggest offseason additions that the Red Sox made. Then there's Willson Contreras. I do like him. His defense has been as advertised. He's a catcher turned first baseman. There's a lot of benefits to having a catcher who then transitions over to the infield because if they can play sound defense, then they can utilize that skill in the infield as well. So for Willson Contreras making that transition to first base, it's clear that the catching experience really benefited him because he's made some really nice plays at first base so far, including one recently where he bailed Trevor Story out, who made a bad throw to him, so he couldn't get to it. So the runner made it to first base, but then he tried to go to second, but Willson Contreras got to the ball quickly enough and was able to throw it down to second and showing off his strong arm to be able to get the guy out. So defensively, you have a good player in Willson Contreras. He's also been pretty patient at the plate. He's taken his fair share of walks, and he's also starting to put the hits together. He did get one hit in the game last night. He ended up going 1 for 2 with 2 walks. So that's my point here is that Contreras is reaching base a lot. His batting average is up to 250 on the season with a 438 on base percentage and a 444 slugging percentage. So he's finding ways to get on base, even if he's not hitting every time. He is racking up the walks, and you want a guy who's going to be able to play good defense and is going to be able to get on base, and that's exactly what Willson Contreras is doing. And when you have a Red Sox team that's been struggling and you're frustrated with the results of how things have turned out, this is a guy that we can look at and say, all right, at least he's been somebody worth watching and somebody that we can be excited about. So when the Red Sox traded for him, there were people that were skeptical, but I was like, wow, this is a guy who's going to fit in really well here. He has the fire, he has the intensity, which is something we saw on display in game 1 against the Brewers, where he got hit by a pitch and he got really fired up, and then he kind of committed a dirty slide going into David Hamilton at second base, which was definitely not cool and a really bad look by him. But he has this intensity that we want this Red Sox team as a whole to have, and maybe it will light a fire in everybody else, but having him here is beneficial, and I'm really excited to see how Willson Contreras continues to contribute because he's definitely been a guy who's been relied on to get on base even when other guys are not. So hopefully that trade ends up being worth it in the end. Caleb Durbin, another guy the Red Sox traded for, he has been struggling early on in the season. He wasn't in the starting lineup in last night's game. He ended up coming in to pinch hit for Marcelo Meyer, and he ended up driving in a run in his at-bat. But his batting average on the season is a 121 with a 171 on base percentage and 152 slugging. So he hasn't really done much at the plate at all. He hasn't really been able to generate walks. He's looked pretty lost as a whole. Hopefully he starts to get going. This is a good opportunity for him to really showcase what he can do and really be able to show that it was worth it for the Red Sox to invest in the long-term potential that they could get with him. Now, his defense has been good at third base. He's made some really nice plays in that corner of the infield. And I'm sure the Red Sox are feeling the same way. And I'm sure they're probably feeling like, yeah, I mean, he's going to likely be our third baseman as opposed to trying to move him to second base at some point. So his defense over at third has definitely been something that I've really been excited about and something that I'm interested in seeing more of. But his offense does need to catch up, because essentially when the Red Sox missed out on Alex Bregman, they still felt like they needed to add an infielder to this team. So that's essentially who they added. And while it's not a direct correlation of, okay, yeah, they saw Caleb Durbin as a replacement for Alex Bregman, that's not necessarily true. It's more of, okay, we lost out on Alex Bregman. What's a move that we can make that makes sense for our team that can help us in the longer term? So that's exactly why they traded for Durbin, was they wanted a guy who they felt like could hopefully help them now and also could help them later. And even though he hasn't helped the Red Sox much now offensively, there's still plenty of time for him to figure things out. It'll just be really disappointing if he continues to feel like an automatic out in the lineup. He is starting to come around a little bit now that he finally got his first hit for the Red Sox when they got back to Fenway Park after that first road trip. So that's promising, but he definitely does need to get going a little bit more if he's going to be somebody that's going to be a key contributor to this team, because the Red Sox did invest a lot in him, and they ultimately traded Kyle Harrison for him, who's pitching well so far for the Brewers. So hopefully he's able to show up as the season progresses. But Danny Colon was another big notable addition for this Red Sox team. They signed him really late in the offseason just to a one-year deal to come out of the bullpen. And he's a guy that the Red Sox are hopeful will serve as a high leverage arm down the road. He wasn't used in last night's game for Boston, but he's been overall pretty good. 2.7 ERA on the season, over 3.1 innings, 2 strikeouts, and he's had 5 appearances, and he was briefly sent home with an illness in late March, but is expected to serve as a primary bullpen piece for Alex Cora's team. I've noticed that he does have a good mix of pitches that he relies on: a knuckle curve, a slider, and a four-seam fastball / sinker mix that he kind of switches between. So if you have that kind of arsenal, that'll hopefully allow you to be successful. And he's a guy whose past history has been a reliable reliever. And obviously he's on the older side, so that's something to think about. But he is a left-handed reliever, and the Red Sox needed another lefty to come out of the bullpen. So that was one of the biggest reasons why they brought him in here, was because they needed to balance that out. They just didn't have a lot of lefty options. So they brought in Colon, and it's still a really small sample size with him in terms of how reliable he's going to be for this Red Sox bullpen. But based on what we've seen from him so far, could things be a little bit better? Yes, but he has been nowhere near a disaster. He's been a guy who's overall been somebody that they can rely on. So he's a guy who will likely be coming in to pitch in high leverage situations for this team moving forward. And if he pitches well, then that'll look like a move that Craig Breslow aced. So right now it's looking like the offseason moves that he made overall might not necessarily be great, but there's still plenty of time to turn things around. And I definitely like what a guy like Willson Contreras especially brings to the table. So we'll have to see if Sonny Gray has another strong start so that we can start getting a little bit more excited about him. But coming up, I'm going to be giving some important injury updates that could change the trajectory of the Red Sox. Game Time is your best source for tickets, especially now with MLB season being back. If you want to be out there watching your team live in person, you definitely need to use Game Time, because the app gives fans the advantage with constant innovation. It's how you unlock amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. Plus, it's simple to use. The Game Time Guarantee means you get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time at the best price. And here's the best part. Fees are included in the price you see. So what you see is what you pay, period, which is awesome. No stress, no hidden fees, just great seats in minutes. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. I don't use any other ticketing vendor anymore besides Game Time, and I highly recommend you using it as well to get cheap tickets. So next time you want to go to a sporting event, use it. So we are in early April still, and I know it's easy to dissect every game, but right now we cannot freak out about every single game. Is their record right now not great? Yes. But is there plenty of time to turn it around still? Yes, absolutely. Once guys really start to get going, I'm hoping that they can turn things around. And they also may be getting a couple reinforcements back soon, guys who were dealing with injuries that are close to returning to this team. So right-handed pitcher Kutter Crawford, who was dealing with a right wrist subsheath tear, he went on the IL technically on March 25th when he was replaced on the injured list, essentially. And he'll start his minor league rehab assignments for AAA Worcester this weekend. So he's scheduled to pitch for the Red Sox on Saturday, which is very exciting. He's going to be throwing a bullpen session today, and assuming that goes well, then he'll make that rehab start. So that's a big thing, because could he be a guy that the Red Sox could throw into the bullpen as a contributor? This is a big question, is where do they put Kutter Crawford? Because prior to him getting hurt when he last pitched for this team in 2024, he was a starter. And that was where they felt like he was best, and that was where he needed to be at the time. But the thing is, now the Red Sox have a full rotation. So bringing in Kutter Crawford now, it would be hard to justify pulling somebody out of the rotation and putting him into it. Unless, for example, a guy like Sonny Gray or Ranger Suarez struggles, and it doesn't seem like they're going to turn things around anytime soon, then maybe they consider moving one of them to a long relief role in the bullpen and putting Kutter Crawford into the rotation. But at first, they might want the flexibility of being able to let Kutter Crawford ease back into things anyway by having him be a reliever. So we'll have to see how things go with his rehab assignments, but I'm interested in seeing, once his rehab assignments pass and he gets called back up, where they're going to put him and what type of role they're going to put him in. And that also goes for Patrick Sandoval, who's recovering from a left UCL repair. He's expected to return soon as well. He's supposed to be making his first rehab assignment with AAA Worcester today. So obviously, first rehab assignment doesn't necessarily mean you're close to coming back, especially with these guys. They might want to take a little bit more time with them because they haven't pitched in a long time, either of them. So they want to make sure that they're really going about this the right way and that they're recovering in the best way. So for Patrick Sandoval, they'll reevaluate him too, probably after his rehab outing in Worcester, and kind of go from there and see where he's at. But he's another interesting player too, because he's a guy that the Red Sox knew when they brought him in could be either a starter or a reliever. And my guess would be that he for sure is going to pitch in the bullpen, because why would the Red Sox have him pitch in the rotation again too? Because they have guys already to pitch in the rotation. So unless guys start to struggle, maybe they would experiment with putting Sandoval in the rotation. But to me, the Red Sox feel like he'd be better off in relief, and that's the area where they see him contributing the most. So he, to me, might be a guy who is a multi-inning reliever, maybe pitches 2 or 3 innings out of the bullpen to then get to their closeout guys like Whitlock and Chapman. You could stick him into that role. Patrick Sandoval, we haven't yet seen pitch with the Boston Red Sox, so I'm interested in seeing how things go for him there. But not necessarily a positive update on the Triston Casas front. He's still recovering from his ruptured left patellar tendon / sore ribs. And his expected return is May at the earliest, but it may be pushed back now. He tried to resume swinging, but is essentially still experiencing discomfort in his ribs. He basically said it didn't feel good when he tried to swing. So now the Red Sox kind of have to push him back. And it's interesting because there isn't really a spot for him on this team right now either, because they're not going to want to pull Willson Contreras from first base when he's been playing well. So if Casas does come back, what is he going to do? Be mixed into the DH role? Okay, then that takes away playing time a little bit from some of these other guys. So I don't think the Red Sox are really in a rush for Triston Casas to come back, and this probably gives them now more incentive to take their time with him and make sure that he's really recovered before he comes back. And then when he does come back, maybe they'll have him spend some time in Worcester to really get his groove back and get back into the swing of things, since it's been a while since he's played, before they call him back up. So he's not close now at this point when it comes to coming back. Johan Oviedo is dealing with a right elbow strain. He just went on the IL on April 3rd. And his expected return is dependent on the consultation with his doctor. The Red Sox are currently awaiting results of a second opinion with Dr. Keith Meister. So based on what the doctor says will kind of determine his schedule moving forward in terms of his recovery process. But when he comes back, hopefully he'll be able to pitch a little bit better than what we saw from him in his Red Sox debut, in which he did struggle. And hopefully he's able to stay healthy. This is a guy who's dealt with some injuries over the course of his career. So the Red Sox are really hoping he can stay on the field. Another player that people sometimes forget about, because it's been a while since he's been around, is Tanner Houck, who's dealing with a torn ulnar collateral ligament, right elbow / right flexor pronator strain. Try saying that 10 times fast. Torn ulnar collateral ligament, right elbow / right flexor pronator strain. I'm not a doctor. Sorry. Hard to pronounce some of these. March 10th, he went on the IL. And his expected return isn't until late 2026 or early 2027. He's still in his gradual throwing program, and he's working on continuing to progress, but he's not close to coming back yet. So it'll be interesting how the Red Sox build their rotation for next year if they want to work Tanner Houck back into it. Then there's Romy Gonzalez, who went on the IL on March 12th and is expected to return in June. He underwent left shoulder arthroscopic debridement on March 12th, and he'll now be out for several weeks with it. He hasn't started rehabbing or anything yet, so he's not super close to coming back, but he'll be a nice bat to add back to the lineup when he comes back, because he does rake against left-handed pitching, and that could be a guy who could give this offense a boost so that they're not relying on guys like IKF or Andrew Monasterio as much. And Monasterio for sure hits well against lefties, but not as well as Romy, so bringing Romy back will be really nice. So hopefully these guys continue to progress in a positive direction, but the biggest storyline with the injuries right now definitely is those two pitchers in Kutter Crawford and Patrick Sandoval, how they do in their rehab and what kind of role they have with this team upon returning. So we'll have to see how everything plays out, but I'm so happy the Red Sox won. And thank you, as always, for tuning in to the show and making it your first listen of every single day. Make sure you subscribe and follow the show on any podcast platform, including YouTube, so that you get all of the latest episodes and don't miss a thing. Also, make sure to follow me on social media. I'm on Twitter at Gabby Maljanian and on Instagram at Gabby_Maljanian10. You can also find the show on Twitter at LO_Red Sox. Make sure you follow me on all of those platforms so you won't miss anything there. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Red Sox ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to LockedOnRedSox.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, I now send you to the first ever 24/7 national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio for your second listen, go check out Locked On MLB. Thanks so much as always. Keep the faith. Go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.